Hello, greetings from Oculus Regeneris Eye Care and Research Center. This is Dr. Charuta J. Puranik. I'm a cornea specialist practicing in Hyderabad. I've been trained in LV Prasad Eye Institute and I'm practicing cornea from the last 10 years. Today we are going to talk about a disease in the cornea which is called keratoconus. It is more common than we know and many a times it is missed as patients receive only glasses for the treatment. Keratoconus is a condition of the cornea where the cornea, which is normally dome shaped, becomes cone like. Let us look at this model eye. If we see from the front, the cornea is not actually visible. However, it is a clear transparent dome like structure which acts as the first surface on which the light that is entering the eye hits it. If you can see very clearly, this is a very regularly dome shaped structure. In the case of keratoconus, what happens is this dome-like structure is now going to become something like this. This is an exaggerated form, however, the cone shape that the cornea gets makes it hard to refract, which means that normal glasses do not fit in such patients. A frequent change in glasses or history of ill-fitting glasses or defective vision despite wearing the best glasses is something that is indicative of further investigation into keratoconus. The ophthalmologist who sees you may suspect keratoconus based on these complaints as well as the examination. Some other things that the patients may complain of are itching, eye rubbing, watering from the eyes, and defective vision progressively despite frequent change in glasses. Once presented to the ophthalmologist, if keratoconus is suspected, there are three main things that may indicate further evaluation. Number one, slit lamp examination. We see the patients on an instrument called the slit lamp. The slit lamp will allow us to observe whether there is a change in the shape of the cornea or whether there are presence of any striae which we can see. Second thing is the refraction. When the glasses testing is done, during refraction we see something called the scissors reflex. This is again another big indicator that keratoconus may be present. Another indicator is during the glasses testing, even with multiple different types of glasses, if the patient is unable to read even the last line that he should, then it is again indicative of keratoconus. Based on these, the doctor may suggest you to undergo further tests. These tests include corneal topography. So topography basically we have heard a lot about in geography classes. We look at topographic maps of the country, of the world. These maps indicate us how tall a structure is or how deep a valley is. Likewise, in corneal topography, we see individual points on the cornea from the surface and see at what point there is a peak and at what point there is a flat curvature. This is then compared to the normal structure and then we get values which are representative of how much the peak is in the particular case. This helps not only in establishing the diagnosis but also it helps in further management strategy. For example, if I want to know whether my height is increasing or not, I would have to take some baseline measurements. Once I take the baseline measurements, only after remeasuring after a period of 2 to 3 months will I know whether my height is increasing or not. Likewise, in case of keratoconus, serial topographic measurements will tell us what type of keratoconus it is. The second test that we also do is pachymetry, that is the thickness of the cornea. The thickness of the cornea in keratoconus progressively decreases. So as the cornea goes from a dome-shaped structure to a conical structure, the corneal thickness also progressively decreases. This decrease in corneal thickness is ominous and also mandates further other treatment. So basically we will be doing topography, pachymetric assessment and if required a contact lens trial. Now mainly keratoconus patients have two problems. Number one is the vision. So the vision is not clear. This is due to multiple reasons. Glasses may not fit in such irregular corneas. Secondly, the vision problem may be due to the allergic eye disease which accompanies these cases. The allergic eye disease leads to eye rubbing, tearing, excessive watering and discomfort and photophobia. Therefore, these patients have defective vision also. The other problem in keratoconus is that of progression. So if you have the cone that is slightly formed and yet stable across over the years, then we can very well treat the visual problems and then leave it alone. However, in many cases, this cone keeps becoming steeper and steeper, leading to a frequent change in the number of classes. Once the diagnosis of keratoconus and its staging is done, further management depends on these three aspects. Number one, whether it is associated with eye rubbing and eye allergic disease or not. Number two, whether the vision is being perfectly obtained with the help of glasses, contact lenses, or any other modality or not. And number three, whether it is a progressive form or not. Allergic eye disease and eye rubbing are frequently associated and very consistently associated with progression in keratoconus and with its beginning as well. Other causes of keratoconus include hereditary family history of having keratoconus. Also, some rare syndromes like Ehlers-Danlos are associated with keratoconus. Now, when we talk about allergic eye disease or eye rubbing, basically mechanical pressure will lead to breakage of the fibers inside the cornea and lead to a progressive weakening of the cornea. This leads to the formation of the dome-like structure. The dome-like structure becoming a cone-like structure because of the progressive weakening of the corneal. Once that happens, once the process begins, further progression depends on non-treatment, if the non-treatment of allergic eye disease or non-stoppage of the eye rubbing. Many patients who have white eyes and do not have any allergic eye disease may be involuntarily rubbing their eyes, either that is a habitual thing or it may be due to some other pathology like dry eye disease. So the first step in managing keratoconus is to stop this cycle of eye rubbing or allergic eye disease and leading to the progression or stopping the further progression of keratoconus. Once we break the cycle of eye rubbing, either by anti-allergic medications or some oral tablets or any other special medications, then we can move on to what procedure can be done best to give them clear vision. In this aspect, we have either the option of contact lenses, glasses, or at the very least surgery. However, before any definitive modality like surgery is undertaken, it has to be assessed whether the keratoconus is progressive or non-progressive. Initial early stages of keratoconus do very well with glasses. If glasses are ill-fitting or not giving clarity of vision, then a rigid contact lens trial can be done. In a majority of the cases of keratoconus where progression is not happening, rigid contact lenses work beautifully and give clear vision to the patients. Another newer option in contact lenses has come, which is called the mini scleral or the full scleral lenses. These scleral lenses also offer much clarity of vision to the patients. Discuss with your doctor and go for a contact lens trial, as this is one of the best modalities of managing keratoconus. Now comes the part where we decide about surgery. Surgically, there are 5 or 6 procedures right now available which work for keratoconus at its various stages. If the keratoconus is progressive, which is assessed by serial topographic maps, one can undergo the collagen cross-linking procedure. In our cornea, within the cornea, there are multiple stromal lamellae. Each of these stromal fibers are interconnected by bands or junctions. What collagen cross-linking procedure does is it uses vitamin A drops or riboflavin drops and utilizes ultraviolet radiation in order to increase this cross-linking between two fibers. This ultimately increases the strength of the cornea as a whole and leads to arrest in the progression of the corneal ectasia. However, it must be mentioned that collagen cross-linking alone, done without control of allergic eye disease or without control of the eye rubbing itself will not be successful. It will improve the health of the cornea. However, progressive rubbing may again weaken the bonds and lead to a progression. Therefore, treatment of the allergic eye disease or eye rubbing is a must prior to the initiation of a cross-linking. However, in certain situations wherein the keratoconus has progressed very rapidly, cross-linking may be undertaken early on. The next surgical option that we know is keratoplasty or corneal transplantation. In the case of keratoconus, we know that there are 5 layers in the cornea: the epithelium, Bowman's membrane, stroma, Descemet's membrane and endothelium. In the case of keratoconus, the Descemet's membrane and endothelium are perfectly normal. However, because of the progressive coning, there may be breaks in the Bowman's membrane. These are seen as striae. Also, sometimes because of severe progression, the Descemet's membrane may rupture. Such a rupture may lead to a sudden loss of vision in the patients and sudden acute onset of defective vision. In such cases, although the edema resolves over time, there may be permanent scarring of the cornea. Therefore, surgical options are determined by the presence or absence of corneal scarring, and in the presence of corneal scarring, we need to undergo a corneal transplantation. If all the layers of the cornea have been involved, such as up to the Descemet's membrane, then full thickness penetrating keratoplasty may be the best option in these cases. However, a majority of the cases do not suffer from the Descemet's membrane breaks and on examination have scarring only in the anterior aspect of the cornea. In such cases, we do something called only part or lamellar keratoplasty, in which we don't change the entire cornea but selectively remove only the area which is non-functioning and replace it with a new cornea. Most of the patients ask us what is the success rate of corneal transplantation. Now, it is an interesting aspect of ophthalmology itself that the cornea, having no blood vessels, is blessed with having less immunogenicity. If we compare the success rate of a corneal transplantation versus that of a kidney transplantation, then the success rate is much higher. However, we must remember that no graft is free from rejection. A corneal transplantation poses the threat of graft rejection at any point in the lifetime. That said, in an eye where there is no allergic eye disease, where there is no inflammation, and the basic problems of eye rubbing have been corrected, and there is no blood vessels coming to the cornea, a corneal transplant surgery has very high success rates and lasts for up to even 15 years. Graft survival at 15 years is very high. The second question that patients ask is regarding care and maintenance. Once a corneal transplantation surgery is done, the sutures must be sequentially removed. These sutures, once removed, the cornea shape can then later on be changed by the use of some laser, or the patient may have to use glasses after surgery. Some of the newer modalities of managing keratoconus that have been proposed recently include Bowman's layer transplantation. Also, multiple groups are now studying regenerative medicine solutions for keratoconus, including introduction of biomaterials within the corneal stroma to strengthen it. Many of these groups have encouraging results, and hopefully we should be able to face a day where we do not have to cater to corneal transplantation for these patients. It is important to understand the natural history of this disease. Many times the patients have progression for a few months and then they become stable. Only in cases where the progression has happened is collagen cross-linking indicated. The progression, as mentioned before, depends heavily on the presence or absence of eye rubbing, either because of allergic eye disease or not. Sometimes keratoconus patients progress, then they become normal, and then they may progress again after a few months. This is typical and is correlated easily with the eye rubbing phenomenon. So in summary, keratoconus is a disease wherein the cornea becomes conical in shape. The cone-like structure does not permit routine fitting of glasses, and patients may suffer from defective vision despite using the best glasses. Contact lenses form a majority of treatment, the bulk of treatment options for the patients. Surgical modalities include part or lamellar corneal transplantation, full thickness corneal transplantation, or Bowman's layer transplantation. Regenerative medicine solutions have also come in vogue now and hopefully will enter clinical trials soon. Thank you for your patient listening. You can write to us at oculusregeneris.com for any queries that you may have. Thank you.